Hi everyone, today on Tarot Reviews with Talula, we're going to be reviewing the Japari. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce this name, so please forgive me for butchering it, but I'm just going to say it the way that I'm imagining you say it, and forgive me if it's wrong. The Japri Tarot by Nino Japaridze. It's published by US Game Systems, and the guidebook is written by Steve Lucas. I do not have the case of the box that the deck comes in with me. It's upstairs and Vincent is napping right now, so I'm not going up there to get the box. It's a really nice sturdy box though. It's certainly one that you can definitely keep. And if you are someone who stores your decks in their boxes, it's a great one for that. If I remember correctly, it's nice and sturdy. It's a beautiful box. Great artwork on the cover. It's really beautiful. You're probably going to see me do this a lot today. It's June 2015 as I'm recording this. I live in New England in the United States. It's usually pretty warm here in June, and it's like 42 degrees out and it's raining. So I'm freezing cold today, and so you're probably going to see me do this a lot. I'm sorry, it's just because I'm cold and I'm trying to heat my hands up. Anyhow, I was really excited, getting back on track, I was really excited when I saw that this deck had come out, and I think, if I remember right, one of you had messaged me and let me know that it was actually coming out. And I believe it came out like the end of last year, beginning of this year. I think it was the end of last year, and there was a lot of people were really excited about it because the artwork is really different and very unique, and it's a very gifted artist who's actually created the deck. It is a 78 card tarot deck, and there is artwork for each card. It's not just the major arcana and then the pips for the minor. The entire deck is illustrated. Again, the box is nice and sturdy that it comes in. I don't have the box with me right now, but if you're someone who stores your decks in boxes, in the boxes that they come in, the box that this tarot deck comes in is really nice. The artwork on the cover is beautiful. It's a nice smaller box too, so I would imagine if you're someone who's storing your decks on the shelves that you would appreciate the fact that it's not a giant box. And the box itself does really encourage you to purchase the deck. The artwork's beautiful, and it's good kudos to US Game System on the box because it's really nice. Let's see. So yeah, I am like all over the place today. I was really excited that when I heard about this deck, and I was excited to purchase it and to work with it. And I have to say that this deck has not disappointed me at all yet. I've been working with it for a few months. I'm pretty sure I bought it in like January. I know it was this year when I bought the deck, but I think it was early on in the year. And I was very excited to actually, sit with the deck. And I described to a friend recently that the way that this deck reads for me, my experience of working with it is it's like a symphony. It feels like there's so many moving pieces to this deck, but it all flows together really beautifully. And when you lay a spread out, you kind of just very fluidly understand what the spread is telling you and understand the flow of the images. And it's like a symphony to me. Like when I listen to a symphony, when I listen to that type of music, and there's like layers and layers and layers, but everything is flowing together and you can feel the pieces. And when there's a discordant note, there's a reason why it's discordant, and you kind of can step into that and explore that in a way that isn't in your face, or it doesn't freak me out. So to me, reading with this deck is very musical and fluid and flowing. And yet I use those words, but I don't necessarily line up with the water element when I work with this deck. To me, it's more of like a fire energy elementally. But I digress. Let me talk about, there are some changes to the tarot system itself in this deck. So let me tell you what those are. Some major arcana titles have been changed, and in this deck, swords are in the minor arcana are called winds, and they represent the element of air. And there's a really handy card with this info on it in the deck itself, which I love. I wish people would do more of this when they're changing things up. Wands are entitled fire in this deck, and they represent the element of fire. Cups are entitled tides, and they represent the element of water. Pentacles or coins are gardens, representing the element of earth. Pages have been turned to jesters, knights to strangers, queens are queens, and kings are kings. So that's just a handy little, there are some differences with this deck. And let me just tell you really quickly, the Hanged Man is the drowned. I just want to find, there's a few others. Let me just double check. The Lovers is love. The Emperor is war. And I have found this to be very intriguing, this change. And I kind of like it, and I don't usually. Let me just double check. I think there's one other, so let me just make sure. Nope, that's it. That's it for the major arcana changes in titles. This is what the guidebook looks like. It's a nice small guidebook, beautifully packaged and presented. That's the back. And there's space for notes. There's 177 pages with the art information in the back. So it definitely gives you some information. It's very basic info, but it's actually beneficial. I mean, I've been reading it as I go along with working with the deck on my own, and I'm enjoying that kind of like refresher into the basics of meanings. But also he does, Steve Lucas, who again wrote the text for the guidebook, he talks a little bit about the symbolism in the cards and then gives you some meanings. And he doesn't include reversals, guys, in this deck. But my favorite thing is the large color reproduction of the image on the card itself that actually takes up the whole page. This is really helpful. It's actually bigger than the cards themselves, and it really, in my opinion, like when you're doing guidebook work, this is actually very helpful, and it's nice to have it in this compact form. So if you are studying the deck, or if you're new to tarot and this is a deck that you want to use to learn how to read with, I love the fact that you've got those full color representations, and that's all the way across in the minor arcana as well. So for every card, you're getting that representation. The writing itself is very clear. It's not, for some reason, the guidebook I don't really connect with at the level that other people who I've talked with have connected with the guidebook. So I would say if you're new, or even if you're a seasoned reader, read the guidebook itself as well and see what you think about it. It's a slightly different perspective. The writing flow itself is very clear, but it has quite a masculine feel to it, the writing. So that's interesting for me. I'll just say that. But the guidebook itself is very clear. It's a great guidebook for beginners. And where there are changes, he does let you know what the traditional title or working with the card as far as like the traditional meaning would be. So that can be very helpful. This is the backing to the card. Really beautiful. So if you've studied artwork or art history, if you're someone who enjoys artwork, you are going to notice that the artwork itself is very French in its feel. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the artist herself is French. So it's got this really, yes, so she's Franco-Georgian. It's got this really great feel to it as far as the energy of it, the essence of it. It has this very beautiful, lyrical, again, symphonic feel to it. And the artwork is really, really different from what we typically see in tarot decks. And it does have this beautiful French feel that plays so well with symbolism and the layers of symbolism and the way that the symbolism shows up in the deck, which is really a beautiful marriage for the symbolism that we see in the Rider-Waite-Smith system. So I have to say, this is a deck you don't come across every day. It's very unique, very different. The artwork itself is, from a collecting standpoint, amazing, and you are not going to see it every day. It's very, very unique and rare, especially in the tarot community. Even if you don't read tarot, if you're just an art collector or someone who appreciates fine art and loves to have that type of artwork around you, this artwork that questions and inspires and intrigues and pushes you, then you'll want to have this deck. Just the artwork itself is absolutely stunning, and it's a gift to all of us to be able to work with the deck, in my opinion. There's no card that I don't like in this deck. All of the artwork is seamless, it's unique, it's beautiful, and like I said, the only word I can think of when I work with this deck is a symphony. That's how it feels to me. It's very poetic, it's as if there's a group of people creating music together when I work with this deck, and I kind of get to sit in, and like the people are the cards, and so I get to sit in and then they play this symphony for me and I get to sit back and experience it. So, okay, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna show you some images. Here's the 5 of Fire, the 4 of Fire, King of Winds. So you can see the symbolism that's appearing throughout the deck. Even in images like this, there's a palpable understanding of what the card is supposed to be portraying for you and what it's supposed to interact with at a subconscious level. I've also found, reading with this deck for others, that you become very aware immediately of the theme or core energy that the querent or client is currently exploring and experiencing in their life, whether that's at a conscious level or an unconscious level. So that is extremely powerful, and I always love it when I'm working with a deck where that happens immediately like that, where there's just this, just from the feel of the cards, an understanding of what landscape the person is currently sitting in. That's really powerful. And so I love the fact that I get that understanding immediately with this deck. I love this image. This is Judgment. Here's the Hermit. Excuse me. Here is the Emperor, which has been changed to War in this deck, which, like I said, I've actually really been enjoying and getting a lot out of. So, like I said before, there are no images that I don't like in this deck. It's simply, here's the World. It's beautiful. The use of colors. Here's the Tower. All of it is, I love this image. Here's the Hanged Man or the Drowned. All of it just really, 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 it's so beautiful and so stunning to work with. I love this portrayal of the Ace of Wands or Swords. Anytime we use that, I'm happy. Here's the Chariot. So the use of color the connection with color, here's the Lovers, which has become love in this deck. It's very fractal at times, and there's quite a lot of technique in each painting. I mean, just looking at the artwork, it's amazing to, I mean, and this would apply for any tarot deck where there's artwork or an art form, an art type of whatever used. It's incredible that there are 78 images. Someone has someone has moved through 78 landscapes to tell this story. And I truly appreciate that in this deck, in a way that, I mean, I've always appreciated that and loved that, but just looking at the detail in this deck and an understanding of the time, the investment of energy that the artistic creation of this deck took for someone. It's awe-inspiring, and it's really, really beautiful and amazing. So I highly, highly recommend this deck, everyone. I know it's a little bit on the pricier side. I think at Made on Earth, we have to retail it at $29.99, I believe, or $28.99. So it is a little bit on the pricier side, but to me, it's an investment that's well worth it. And the card quality is actually pretty good. This is not my favorite size for a tarot deck, this kind of rectangular shape. But they are nice and large lengthwise, so you do actually get to see everything in the image itself, as you can see here. So it's definitely not so small that you can't, you know, connect with the images in the deck itself, as I know some people, actually a lot of people have really said about the Shadowscapes Tarot, which is a deck that I really, really love, but for some people, for a lot of people, the artwork is too small in that little card size, and you can't pick up all the detail. So hopefully Llewellyn will make a larger version of that deck. I wish a lot of people would, but I don't think that hinders the size of this deck, the Japaridze Tarot. I don't think that hinders working with the deck or reading with the deck at all. Again, like I said, this deck is like, it's so easy to read with, at least for me. The images just flow, the connection flows. It's just beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it because it's a very unique experience in my working with tarot decks. And I've been working and collecting decks for years now. Working with tarot decks and collecting decks for years now. And this is a very, very unique experience to have with a deck. I am so thankful that this deck has been created and is available to us to use, and that we have such beautiful artistry here. That's really a unique voice in tarot too. It's not just like run-of-the-mill pumping out art, you know, pumping out whatever form of artwork, or taking inspiration from another art form or something like that. It very much feels that it's its own masterpiece, its own symphony, and it's just beautiful. I just feel it's one of those decks that you feel honored to work with, and that it's part of your spiritual toolkit. And I definitely feel that way about the Japaridze Tarot. It's one of the decks that since I gotten it, it's been on my upstairs altar or my piano, and I've been using it a lot for myself. I'm starting now over the last month to use it with clients and having good experiences with that. Again, very clear right away about, and the flow of reading with the deck is very harmonious as far as taking you from this energetic space and allowing you to see where the energy is headed. And what's lying underneath the surface is really beautiful. So I cannot recommend this deck highly enough to you guys. It's a keeper. It's beautiful. From a collector's standpoint, it's stunning. And it's a deck that I will be using for the rest of my life, I am sure. It's one that I will be using a lot.